All right, so something about our worship setup is different this morning. Have you noticed what it is? What is different about the chalice, Jamie? It has a smaller flame. It does. That's not my ideal. We'll keep working on that. But is it still our beloved chalice? The one that Mac made for us so lovingly? So we have beloved traditions here at First Parish Beverly, and most of them were embraced long before I became your minister. And I've readily claimed them as traditions I love too. I love that our chalice is unique to our church. I love that it was lovingly carved by a member. And even though I've never had the opportunity to meet Mac Coleman, hearing the story of his artwork and building a connection to it has helped me get to know him a little bit through your stories and through Peggy. And I love that lighting our chalice typically brings forth this really robust flame. I don't love that every week the flame wanes till it's just a subtle blue glow at the end of the service. And I really, really don't love the weeks that it goes out before the service is even over. And if I'm honest, I also struggle with the alcohol fumes that I can smell throughout the service. But I've resisted new options for our flame, not our chalice as a whole, but just the flame, because I was really nervous about it. Would a different flame work well for us? Spoiler, I don't think we're there yet. Would we all, myself included, hate it? We'll find out, you'll tell me. I hesitated. But both Rabbi Marcia Prager and UU minister Reverend Sarah Goodman have written about curiosity as an antidote to worry, fear, or anxiety. They both say that worry asks, "Oh no, what is going to happen?" While curiosity ponders, "I wonder what could happen." When we lean into a question or a new situation with worry, we find ourselves imagining the worst. Sometimes we've got past experiences to back our anxieties up. And so to protect ourselves, we shut down this new opportunity. Some of us have been able to experience that directly this week. If you have watched the news of the hantavirus on the cruise ship, you may have also noticed that a lot of people are panicking because of our experience 6 years ago. That panic comes from our experience and our trauma. It doesn't come from science or medical professionals who can tell us that while hantavirus can be dangerous, we also know it really well. It is different from experiencing a virus we have never seen before. And there's a whole lot more that most of us do not understand in what goes into that, because if I'm wrong, correct me, but I don't think we actually have epidemiologists in our community and in our space. Our experience tells us to worry, even as professionals tell us this is different. So we protect these most vulnerable parts of ourselves because we've seen something similar play out, and we are not going there again. Thank you very much. And that approach does offer protection from the risk that is inherent to anything new. But the trouble with that sort of protection is that it also cuts us off from all that we might discover or share with others. It cuts us off from the possibility of adding to what we already know. It cuts us off from being expansive. And this is where curiosity comes in. When we enter the new with curiosity, we tell our brains and our bodies to expect something different. That the different is okay. It is even welcome. We tell ourselves with the assurance that the new doesn't need to threaten our safety. It doesn't even need to be permanent. So often we can try things out, learn they don't work for us, and kick them to the curb. It's easy to follow the what-ifs of worry, right? I really love high adventure activities, and so for years, I have tried to talk my friends and family into booking sessions at ropes courses or zip lines. In 2 decades, I've been successful exactly one time. So for those 2 decades, I have also refused to book anything by myself. I felt weird going alone. I worried that the strangers I'd meet that day would judge me. I worried we'd be asked to pair up and I'd be the odd one out, suddenly again feeling like the last picked in gym class. My worry about what would happen made my decision for me, over and over again, even as I said to new friends and family, let's try this. Do you want to try this? And I got some ambivalence and some hard nose. And then last summer, I did something different. I decided to put aside those worries and lean into my curiosity about who I might meet and what thrills I might encounter. And so I planned a one-day adventure vacation for myself, and I booked a zipline trip in New Hampshire. And the group was, as I expected, full of couples and families. I met some parents who had convinced their teens that family time was not the worst thing that has ever happened to them. And I met a 10-year-old who spent his time reassuring his nervous mom. He was the expert in their family. And I also met another woman who was there by herself. Her family had refused to join. They had literally dropped her off in the parking lot, not even turned off their car, and sped away in search of some activity on firm ground. And we had an absolute blast. None of those worries that held me back for 20 years played out as I feared they might. I buddied with this other woman who was there alone, but throughout our day, we also traded off. And people paired with people they didn't know, they weren't related to. We swapped stories, and the guide and I swapped tattoo images, and I learned that he had grown up just 30 minutes away from me. There was so much that came of leaning in with curiosity. So back to our chalice. Last week, our flame barely burned. The cotton balls didn't blacken like they often do. They were just tinged a little brown on top. And it put itself out so early that Brenda tried to relight it, but it didn't stick. And when I pulled the cotton balls out later, it was really clear that there was plenty of alcohol, the fuel was getting to the top, everything should have been fine. So I decided to lean in with curiosity. I found an oil lamp that fit perfectly into our chalice, and I planned to try it out. What I didn't find was readily available lamp oil. Did you know it's hard to find lamp oil in stores? Paraffin oil is the most common lamp oil, and it puts off fumes and chemicals. I can smell it, and I also couldn't get it without getting it shipped. So I thought maybe we have to wait another week. But I was leaning in with curiosity, and I wanted to find out what would happen. So I looked into alternatives, and I recruited a couple of friends to an evening of lighting and relighting our lamp. The internet told me that olive oil burns cleanly and well. So I tried the oil in my kitchen cabinet, and the lamp smelled great. It really did, but the flame was out in a minute and a half. So I rotated through options. I had bought 2 different wicks, and I landed on an extra light olive oil. It's thinner than the robust extra virgin that I keep at home. And our chalice is still lit. Our flame isn't perfect today. I don't think this is the end of leaning in with curiosity. In the end, we might decide to go back to our cotton balls and rubbing alcohol. But maybe you have experience with an oil lamp, and you can offer a suggestion. And there are other fuels we can try. Some wicks are thicker. I've already thought about how I might pull the metal piece out and help the oil flow up the wick more quickly and more easily. We'll continue to find a flame that is both robust and fits within the beautiful tradition of our beloved chalice. If that means returning to what we have done for many years, that isn't a failure. We tried the new, leaned in with curiosity. We learned that other options work differently. And we will be able to say either this new option is great or our original option is best for us. This society of ours often sets us up for allowing anxiety to dominate and dictate our choices. For centuries, people in power have managed their fear about the unknown and fear about losing control by limiting other people. In our country alone, our history of slavery, racism, oppression of women, homophobia, transphobia, these have all been expressions of fear. And then there are the things that are not necessarily our values. We are sold home security systems and told no matter where we live, we should set an alarm. We put cameras on our doorbells. A whole generation of us traded stories about the possibility of needles in our Halloween candy. How many of you have found a needle in Halloween candy? How many of you grew up with the idea that they might be there? If you're younger or older than that particular trauma, we would be happy to tell you about it. It is so easy to follow this large cultural teaching to center fear because some of these things that we protect ourselves from are really practical. Home security systems alert an outside presence, and we can talk about the benefits and drawbacks of an automated call to the police. But car alarms, intended to do the same thing, I think really only exist to keep us up in the middle of the night. Sometimes our caution is valuable, and sometimes it's just an irritation. So if we're going to disrupt this leaning into fear that our larger society enforces and reinforces, we're going to have to choose curiosity on purpose. We have to choose it as an antidote to worry. We must be intentional and tell ourselves that we're leaning in with curiosity. We must recognize those moments where worry creeps in and pause. Ask ourselves, is this a useful worry, or am I letting a story that isn't my own tell me what to do? We must practice wondering what could happen. We must practice imagining the positive outcomes. We choose to lean in with curiosity as we try new things, meet new people, invite new ideas and practices. And it is going to take a good deal of curiosity to build this world we dream about, this beloved community where all people are free and all people can thrive. May we find a healthy dose and lean in.